you are able to, I'm going to read it now, okay? You're being asked to participate in an interview as part of an oral history project at Kresge College at UCSC. I'm going to go over a few policies to make sure you have all the information you need to formally consent to this interview. You can withdraw with your application/participation in this interview at any time and ask that your interview be deleted or kept entirely private. You can also choose not to answer any questions for any reason. Any audio recording, transcript, and other materials based on this interview will be used for this class only. Please let me know if you want me to disregard the recording and transcription after the class is over. My professor will be reading the transcript, and I'll be using the portions of it for my final project for the class. Can I use your name in the transcript and any other assignment for the course, or would you prefer I use your prosodium?
Yes, you
Okay.
can.
Finally, although I can use the prosodium, I can't guarantee total anonymity. So keep in mind the answering questions when answering questions. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me about your participation in this interview?
No.
Okay, we're gonna get started. Can you tell me your name, where you're born? Hello?
Yes. Hello, my name is Andrew Sandoval, and I was born in Salinas, California.
And your date of birth? Well, like when, well, like,
I was born in 1983.
okay. And my first question is, what started it all with your journey in politics?
Sure. Well, first, my name is Andrew Sandoval, and I'm a Salinas City Council member with four wonderful children, and one at UCSC, and two at Rancho San Juan, and one at John Gutierrez. And this journey started back when my daughter was in elementary school, and she invited me to attend her local school's PTA meeting. So I attended, and I just started to notice some things, some irregularities, and I got more involved in the PTA and just started to see some awkward stuff with finances and support, academic support for students, and some parent concerns, and just got involved and was PTA treasurer. And the more I got involved, the more questions I had. And then I realized that a lot of people don't like questions to be asked. Um, and that led me down a path of learning about things like the Public Records Act and transparency and Brown Act and a lot of different functions of a school district and oversight that they're supposed to have, but didn't necessarily have at the time.
Mm. Okay, and then what situation made you grow the most? Do you think it was that situation or was there a different situation?
No, I think that situation helped me grow the most because after organizing parents and speaking up for students, there was some severe retaliation. And so there was one point where both me and my wife were banned from campus. And then after we returned to campus, because we didn't do anything wrong, one day a sheriff showed up at my house and served me with a very long restraining order with all kinds of nonsense accusations. And that led to a court hearing that I never thought I'd see myself in, having to basically defend my right to free speech. And ultimately, the judge, through an anti-SLAPP motion that we filed, ruled the restraining order void and basically ordered that I would be allowed back on campus, and that the restraining order was just an effort to keep me from participating in my kids' education and public participation in local meetings. So that helped me grow the most because that's how I learned how the system works and how it doesn't work, and how sometimes people can get frustrated, just walk away, and the importance of staying involved and consistent and true to yourself.
How long was that court case?
What was that?
How long was that court case?
That court case lasted a couple of days, I believe. I think we had to go 2 or 3 different times.
Oh, so that's pretty short then. Okay. And how was your relationship with your family at this point or in that sense, like during that time or even during the process of you becoming a city council member?
Well, at that time, excuse me. How about not getting sick? At that time, well, I think we've always had a pretty good relationship, but at that time it was a stressful time because there was a lot of, like always, a lot of accusations going around and a lot of stress and a lot of um, negative things being said that weren't true. So having to fight that battle of wanting to stay involved and doing what's right and getting people to investigate issues was stressful, but I think the family grew over time.
And then, is there any situation that you'd like to share that hasn't received enough attention that you know about, whether that's about that situation or one happening now?
Do you think I gave enough context about the school Oasis? I think I did, right?
You gave a little brief, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, currently in the news right now, I'm not sure when your project is going to come out, but I'm a Salinas City Council member, and I'm currently going to be up for a censure, which is in essence a public spanking for my behavior. But similar to what happened at Oasis, it's really just an effort to silence voices or silence my voice and get me to stop posting social media content and doing the advocacy work that I've done for a long time, which is fighting for public records, transparency, Brown Act, and proper things. So I'll be facing a censure. And actually, the basis for my censure is all my public advocacy work in my private life. And they're saying it's bleeding into city business. So um, it's going to be a pretty interesting discussion. And what I'd like people to know is that there's always going to be a lot of pushback when you're trying to make big changes in whatever organization you're in. And people don't like change and they don't like questions, but it's so important to stay true to yourself. And a lot of the attacks that may come are obviously very could be a lot of emotions and strained times, but it's just important to persevere. Otherwise, systems don't change.
And do you think at any point in time, do you think you overstepped by posting?
Huh?
Just 'cause I've
Yes.
I've watched your videos, so I just wanted to know if any pointing turns that you overstepped.
Um, I don't think that I overstepped. I think that I'm not proud of one of the videos that I made where I gave a city council member a long nose. I was mimicking him. I mean, he was a liar. He basically was saying that. See, what happened is that we had rent stabilization and tenant protections,
Mhm.
and I was proud to be part of that council. But the new council came in, who was, of course, heavily funded by property management and developers. So they voted to repeal rent stabilization. And at one council meeting, Councilmember Salazar said, "We're not taking people's rights; they have rights." And and he said, "Well, they already have all these rights." But then he voted to take people's rights away. And so there was a point in the council meeting where I called him a mentiroso, which is a liar.
Right.
And so obviously, you're messing with people's lives when you do things like repeal rent stabilization and tenant protections. And so I used AI to create a long-nosed image of him. My mom scolded me too. I think that was a little bit too far. But to be honest, in this
It
political
was-
climate that we face, you hear the term "nice guys finish last," and you have to fight. You have to fight fire with fire. And if you play nice and diplomatic all the time, um, and stay silent about some of the attacks or not respond, then um, big corporations win. And so you have to be able to put your message out there and let the community know what's going on. So that video, I regret
Yeah.
um, doing that, but no, I think it's so important.
Yeah. That
And
was
the
good.
reason I think it's so important because I on a regular basis get approached about what they're learning from my videos. So yes,
Do you think that was the only video, like that was the only one that you think that you overstepped, or was there any more? Do you think?
um,
Because I mean, I've seen
no,
videos and they're kind of just like they're pretty just go letting the community know what you're talking or what's happening behind scenes. So, is there any other ones?
no, I don't think they're overstepping. They're not very nice, to be honest. Like, give an example. One councilwoman ran on basically saying how unacceptable it was for another council member there to vote to give himself a raise and how she's a true public servant. But then she got into office and then she took the raise when she could have easily refused it. So I had to call her out for that. I mean, it was kind of a funny cartoon video, but like, you shouldn't be taking money if you're saying that you're against that kind of stuff. So, but
Yeah,
no.
the irony is crazy. So kind of leaning kind of right away from that. Even during now and like past, present, however it was, who supported you and how did they support you?
Well, my wife is my biggest supporter, and my family has been my biggest supporter. My brother, and let's see, and of course I have my friend Chris, and a lot of other members in the community have really supported my efforts.
Oh. And then how was we've been jumping back before and now, how was running for city council the first and the second time with your
Well, the
experience?
first time I was kind of naive and just thought that people will get to know me, and I didn't really need money to win, and maybe I didn't. I could have actually probably worked harder the first time, but the reality is that sometimes you can't reach people by knocking on their door, and so being able to send a mailer or a text message, as annoying as they may be for some people, or advertise on TV, that has an impact on elections, and it was hard. It was a learning experience because I never run for office a couple years ago. The second time around, my kids were bigger and they were in high school, so they helped me walk and they shared with their friends. And I think that helped, and I was able to raise substantial more money. And the community started to know me through my advocacy work and my active involvement in the city and school district. So I think people got to know me, but it's definitely an adventure.
Yeah. I mean, people still really recognize you too over here at UC Santa Cruz too, right?
Yeah, yeah, people recognize me.
So
Yeah, I think what made me famous was the Dutch Bros video, and sad to say Dutch Bros has not come, but I have met with them.
there's no update on that one yet. Okay. And then what are the pros and cons of working for the city?
Well, it's not really working for the city. It's more like public service. We do get paid a whopping $2,500 a month. But the pros, so things like being able to pass rent stabilization, something that affects 18,000 homes in our community, that could save an average of 150 to $250 a month. That's about almost, 2 grand or over 2 grand in some cases. That could be the difference between how people eat, what they eat, whether they can get their medication. So those things are very important. Also, being able to assist businesses and navigating our permitting process, or supporting somebody who may be having an issue with the police department not being responsive. There's just a lot of things, even fixing a pothole for somebody. Now, although I don't do the digging, I report those and then they get done. So, or being able to highlight the youth in our community. I think people always talk about empowering the youth and highlighting the youth, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of people aren't really doing it. And so one of my biggest, most exciting things is that I get to talk to youth. And recently I got to go into a classroom, but to give an example, I got to hang out with our youth commission recently and record a bunch of videos, and they were, like it was like the greatest experience for them ever. And I'm just a regular guy, but to a lot of folks, I'm a city council member, a government elected official, and you know, so being able to spend time with the youth and then telling them, you could run for my seat too. And they're like, but don't you have to be educated in a degree? And I said, no, you just got to be a registered voter and over the age of 18 and have a good heart for your community and hopefully good motivations. And so to be able to do that, that's one of the best things ever. Or I've been able to find unhoused homeless people housing before. There's a lot of stories I don't share publicly of some of the successes I've been able to accomplish because honestly, it's really a lot of our city staff who does the work, but just being able to be that conduit about how they get in contact with resources,
Yeah.
it's really crucial and really it's really rewarding. And the cons, did we talk about the cons? The
Not really.
cons is did you ask about the cons or
I asked
no?
about the cons.
I'm only 42 years old
Full white beard.
and a full white beard. I don't know if that's from, I better not say marriage or kids or city council, but my wife's in the background yelling, "Hey!" But it's a lot of sacrifice, and sadly, even though I'm interviewing with my daughter right here, it's a lot of sacrifice. Could be financial sacrifice, could be time sacrifice. At times, it could be mental health sacrifice. I could be, sometimes I ask myself, and I think a lot of people do, what are you even doing there? You could be having a business, or you could be working in other things, or something to better yourself or enrich yourself. So I think those are some of the sacrifices. Definitely time away from family is a con, but at the same time, it could be, well, sometimes they might not see it as a con, but obviously they get experiences that other students don't, and they'll learn things that other folks don't get to learn. So, anyways.
Let's see the next question. Okay. Would you ever run again or aim for a higher position?
So I plan to run again in 2026. Luckily, all my kids have said they'll support my efforts, and my wife has given me permission. There's so much good work to be done, and there's just, I told this one mayor from Soledad when she was thinking of not running for office, I think 2 years ago, and she still quotes me, and I'm like, wow, that sounds wise. And I told her, Anna, it's not about you, it's about the people. And if I felt that there was another representative that could do what, well, I don't want to sound arrogant, but if it could keep the fight up for the community, then maybe I wouldn't consider running. But there's just so much more work to be done, and like I said, right now we're fighting for people's livelihoods, how they're able to afford things. So I think I have to. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. It is fun to get to opportunities. To give you an example, I get to go to the grand opening of Raising Cane's. So those are fun things, right? I got sneak peek access. That stuff is cool. But like I said, like I'll give you an example. People may not know this, but in the city of Salinas before 2 years ago, the way they fixed streets was like whoever reported or whoever complained the most. And
Yeah.
2 years ago, we passed a pavement management plan, which also took equity as a factor. That means areas that weren't invested in the past would have a little bit higher score. And so, for the first time ever, we have a strategic, thought out plan on how we're going to fix infrastructure in our city. Although it's going to take many, many years, there's going to be a plan. And ironically, my district ended up having the worst pavement in the city. And so my district gets first crack at some of the repairs. But those kind of plans, and I just recently proposed we do the same thing with our sidewalks, because we still don't have a system on how we fix sidewalks.
Yeah.
Or, so there's a lot of stuff yeah, I'm very proud of the work we're doing.
I know we already talked about this, we kind of like brushed through, but do you want to give a little background of how the rent stabilization process, what we had to do, or as what you had to do as a community? Because we kind of just brushed over it, but like, what were the steps that had to be taken to get that rent stabilization back in motion?
Sure. Well, I'll just really quick, I'll talk about the history of rent stabilization that was brought by groups like Building Healthy Communities, Viviendas para Todos, uh, Center for Community Advocacy, MILPA. A lot of community grassroots organization many years ago pushed for this rent stabilization and tenant protections.
Mhm.
And hundreds of hours and signatures were collected to get the council to bring these to an agenda and then approve it. It was a huge community effort, huge community lift. And after all these years of research and time, the new city council, who was of course funded by corporate interest and just like TV, right? Property managers and developers came in, and their number one priority was not public safety, was not streets and sidewalks, was not the things they ran on. As a matter of fact, they didn't share what their true intention was. They repealed rent stabilization and tenant protections and anti-harassment policies in one vote. No research, no community meetings, no nothing. And so it took hundreds of volunteers. Bella helped as well, and all these other organizations, and we had to collect over 10,000 signatures in under 30 days. And then we stopped the repeal of rent stabilization and tenant protection. So it was historic. I don't know of any other effort that's happened. So now the city of Salinas is being watched by the entire state of California what happens next, because if if the residents of Salinas manage to keep this, this could have implications statewide, which is why I'm hopeful but concerned about the tons and tons of money that will be poured into this upcoming election. Probably not only against me, but against this referendum, which will be up for a vote November 2026.
Right. Because I believe we were talking about this too when they were trying to, was it, they were trying to take you out of office, correct?
Sure, October of last year, there was an effort to recall me.
Right.
And
And
so,
how much
yeah,
money did they spend to recall you?
yeah, I think they almost spent 80 grand, and that was funded by Taylor Farms. Yes, if you're enjoying salad from Taylor Farms, you probably bought some at Trader Joe's. They spent about 40 grand trying to recall me. Ironic, well, not ironically, but I've never actually been able to meet with the Taylor, so I don't actually know why they try to recall me. I have a small idea.
Mhm.
It had to do with no one could ever figure out how much the ag industry contributed to the local tax base. So I brought the idea of taxing ag. So I think they got a little scared at my penny a box conversation and they try to recall me, but I'm not sure. And if the Taylors are out there, and I'd love to meet with them still.
Mhm. Do you have any advice for for someone wanting to go into the political workforce?
Into political office, I say there's a lot of good you can do if you run for office. There's a lot of good you can do if you win for office. Think of all the complaints you may have, and imagine having a seat at the table or being able to bring a policy forward or change the direction of money that maybe has never been invested in a particular neighborhood. There's a lot of good you can do if you run for office. And Yeah, I mean, people don't know the impact you can have. So I encourage people to do it. It's a sacrifice, but it's worth it. So I encourage folks to learn more. And of course, I'm always up for conversations on how to run for office and share my experiences.
Out of all the Salinas City Council members, whether that's like present or past, you think you're the only city council member that has stirred up this much drama within your years of being in office? Because I've never heard of a Salinas City Council member getting that much money to get them out of their seats.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I definitely do not pick my battles. I just see that I have a limited time of an office. And although a lot of politicians or electeds are in it for the long term, which I can kind of understand, but I think there's a level, in my opinion, a level of sacrifice of what you can push forward. Because if you push too hard, then there might be too much opposition. They might get you out of office, or they just may not support you on other issues. And I'm facing that, but I feel like I'm on a sprint, and if I wait to say, you know what, I'm going to tackle that my next term, there may not be a next term. So, but no, I don't think there's another council member who's stirred up enough stuff like in all areas. Yeah, but you need that, and you know what they call it? Some people say, "Oh my God, here comes trouble." But you know what? More and more, I'm hearing people say, "Here comes good trouble," and we need good trouble in our community.
Yes, we need transparency within
Yes.
the community. I know that was a big quote from you too. Any final thoughts you would want to share? Anything else you want to highlight from?
Get involved in local government. All you students out there, it is so important that you get involved. Complaining is one thing, but I don't care. Even if you shoot somebody an email, make a phone call, reach out to them, ask them a question. It's so important. You wouldn't believe it, but not a lot of residents ever reach out to me. It's me actively trying to reach out to folks, educate them, to beg them to participate. I feel like, and this is real. As a matter of fact, one of my recent person I appointed to a committee, I didn't really think he liked me too much, which is okay. But I saw him actively taking notes and asking a ton of questions, and I'm like, and I told him, I go, even if you don't like me, as your city council member, I want you to get involved. And I think the process is better when you have people who are engaged and even people who criticize. I think it's good. But anyways, let's get involved. You can really make a difference by just asking those questions or showing up or being present. Not enough youth come to city council or to any of these things. And so at the end of the day, you have to live with the mess that these elders create. So better put them in check and clock it or whatever.
And then another question too is what are your next steps with being a city council member right now? Within whether that's the weeks, months, or the next year.
Yeah, they're right now, and I feel like it's well, right now I'm facing a censure, but I mean, I'm gonna be censured. That's not a question for anything. I think my thing is getting more people activated. You know what I noticed on my Instagram comments, Andrew Sandoval, Selena City Council member, or something like that, um, is that people say if they take you down or if they come after you, we're coming. And there was this quote on a radio show, actually a radio show out of Santa Cruz, Case Squid, and there was a quote. I have to. Well, there was a quote. It says, "A raindrop." Oh, I'm going to butcher the quote. Let me 1 second, since this
Go
is not
ahead.
going to be live.
No, go
Is
ahead.
this going to be live? We're going to find out.
Go ahead. We have 6 more minutes we need in there anyways.
Oh, okay, so somebody recently who was oh yeah, I like this quote, man. It actually, I kind of, and I'm going to send you the link so you can listen to the interview in case you want to. I don't have to read it again. It says, "The single raindrop never feels responsible for the flood.
Hmm.
The single raindrop never feels responsible for the flood." And maybe one isn't, but collectively, I mean, and I'm not sure I'm interpreting that correctly, but I mean, you could be that extra drop that could tip the scales or could cause change. So, but what's next for me? I got some potholes to repair in the city of Salinas. I've got, I've been debating so hard because on one end I represent the city, right? So I have to look out what's best for the city as an organization, right? But obviously, I represent the residents of Salinas, and so one issue that I'm grappling with is so right now, if you run over a pothole in the city of Salinas, and so now we're recording it, now people will know. So I probably will have to post a video. So I just convinced myself to do it. If you run over a pothole and it causes you to have a flat tire, you could file a claim against the city of Salinas. But guess what? You're probably not going to get paid. And I've seen those reports where I think out of maybe 50 claims, we might have paid two. Because here's the trick: you have to prove that we knew the pothole was there. Yes.
Why about
So
that?
how, huh?
That's an interesting way to go about that. You guys have to know
We
the
have to know because in order for we to pay you, we have to be negligent.
and how would they prove that you guys know there's a pothole there? Like, is there documentation? Like, you guys drive by and you're like, oh, there's a pothole, and you put that on the city, or how would that go about?
Exactly. Exactly. How would you know that? So this is how you do it. Are you ready? This is the secret on how to get your things. You have to prove that we knew about the pothole. So how could you possibly know that? Well,
Mm.
just like I shared a little earlier with you, I have some potholes to report myself.
Right,
So this is the secret. If you get a pothole, if you hit a pothole, chances are the pothole's been there before.
right.
All you got to do is make a public records request for all reports related to potholes along that street. And then the city has a log of all the reported potholes. And then when you can find the reported pothole, then they'll send you that information. And then you submit that along with your claim, and then they can't claim, and then we can't claim negligence
I see.
because we knew about it and we ignored it, or we didn't take care of it the way we should have. Now, the reason I say I've been debating, one, because it's going to cost our city a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? Imagine everyone finding out they can get there. But then the other part, I represent the residents of Salinas, not
Yeah,
the city structure,
right.
right? So, yeah, maybe it should cost us a lot of money. And maybe we should fix the damn potholes. I even have this idea for Papusas for Potholes, a fundraiser. It's basically to shame our own city into fixing the potholes, but to prove that the community would step up to buy food if they
Mhm.
would just fix the potholes. So, anyways, that's how you get your potholes fixed. There's also other secrets to getting infrastructure done in your city.
That's pretty
Uh,
interesting. So do you think that even though it's going to be costing the city like more money, do you think that it'll be harder to allocate funds to certain other places? Certain like will that put a blockage in that?
well, you see, that might be the argument, right?
Right.
Because there's only so much money.
Mm.
And that's always one of the biggest struggles of a city council, right? Is deciding how much money is going to go into public safety, how much is going to go into preventions, how much is going to go into recreation services, which could be prevention, streets and sidewalks, right?
Right.
So, there's always that balance. But the pothole discussion, I'll tell you this, and of course, I've had friends who have hit potholes. I've hit potholes. Um, Imagine this. Going back to rent stabilization, you're barely able to afford to pay your rent. You're on your way to work, you hit a pothole. You may miss out a day of work. That could be 150, $200 a month. I mean, for that day. That could affect you picking up your kids. That could affect you paying rent. So yeah, it's not right.
Yeah. And you say you're for the people, you got to be for the people.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you know what sucks is I'll make my own city an enemy, but whatever. At the end of the day, so, maybe I shouldn't say that, but, people say, oh, well, aren't you the city? That's always an interesting question. But no, we are for the people.
But
So
you're
I will be
a resident
releasing that
first.
video,
Yeah.
even if it hurts. Like I said, who knows if I'll get elected? Who
Yeah.
knows how many negative mailers they'll send out? How many negative text messages? They'll
Yeah.
probably send some ugly pictures of me like, or,
We're gonna
um,
clip that.
you know, yeah, no, I was thinking of making my own video, giving them all the images they could use for my negative mailers. Um, at the end of the day, I'm gonna be real. If I didn't reach enough of my constituents, if they didn't get to know me enough, maybe I don't deserve to be in office. That sucks to say, but this censure, by the way, is not being called by any of my residents in my district. It's just politicians, for the most part. Even the constituents that don't like me, I still respond to them because that's my role. So,
Right.
but anyways, enough about that. Any other questions?
I think that's pretty much it. I think I kind of got a grasp for anything. Was there any final comments you want to share?
I'm so proud of you, Bella. You're so cute. You're doing good in college. So, no, I just tell people to please get involved, or try to engage people in conversations. Don't go at them and say, "Oh my God, don't you think these people are all corrupt?" Engage them. What do you think about rent stabilization? Or do you really think they can't fix the potholes? Or try to engage people, and that might spark a conversation that may spark their interest. You never know. You could invite them to a city council meeting. My journey started with my daughter right here, starting inviting me to a PTA meeting. I was, and who knew? Who
Not
knew
that
where I'd
that
be?
big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just open-minded then.
Yes.
Okay, that is, I'm pretty sure that we got all the questions answered. Thank you so much for answering all my questions, Dad. And I think that's it, guys. My dad, me, and then we're done today. Thank you.
Yes, the city council member. So official. No. All right. Love you. Bye.